The sound hit like a crack of thunder in a cathedral. In that frozen moment, as vintage silk surrendered and tore from hem to hip, Miranda Sterling realized three things simultaneously. Her marriage was over, her husband had planned this humiliation down to the last detail, and she was about to burn his entire empire to ashes. What happened in the next 4 minutes wouldn't just end a party. It would detonate a billion-dollar dynasty and send shockwaves through every boardroom in the city. If you want to see how one woman's courage brought down a corporate titan, you need to stay until the end of this story. Hit that like button right now and let's dive in. 6 hours earlier, Manhattan penthouse. Damien Sterling, CEO of Sterling Global Enterprises, was getting ready for the biggest night of his career. His wife Miranda stood holding a sapphire silk dress from the 1950s. Her grandmother's dress, the one she'd spent months restoring. "You're wearing that?" Damien didn't look up from his tablet. Stock market data. Always the stock market. "It's old. Wear the ivory Valentino. The one I bought you. I love this dress. I don't care. Tonight's about the future. You represent the past. Change." His phone lit up. A name flashed. Vivian. Who's Vivian? Vivian Laurent, CEO. Major investor. You'll meet her tonight. Be nice. The lie was so casual it hurt worse than the truth. But here's what Miranda didn't know yet. Vivian wasn't just an investor. Keep watching. This gets darker. Miranda wore the sapphire dress anyway. Small rebellion. Maybe her only one. They arrived at the Meridian, 88th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city like a throne room. The gala celebrating the Apex Initiative, Damien's $3 billion luxury development that would reshape the skyline. The room was packed. Hedge fund managers, politicians, tech billionaires, the kind of people who moved markets with phone calls. And there she was, Vivian Laurent, tall, raven hair, crimson dress that looked like it was painted on. Standing next to Damien like she belonged there, Miranda watched from across the room. The way his hand rested on Vivian's back. The way they leaned in close, sharing secrets. They looked like a matched set. Miranda felt sick. She headed toward the bathroom, past an alcove, heard voices, 2 board members' wives, Constance and Beatrice. Can't believe he brought her here, parading his mistress in front of his wife. Vivian's not just a fling. Her tech is the backbone of the Apex project. He needs her. I heard the divorce papers are already drafted. Poor Miranda. She's sweet, but she was never in his league. Divorce papers. The words hit like a fist. Miranda steadied herself against the wall. This wasn't speculation anymore. This was planned. Pre-written. She was being edited out of her own life. And what she does next changes everything. Don't click away. She found her best friend Sienna in the crowd. Sienna, investigative journalist, sharp as a knife. I need to get into Damien's office. Here in this building. His private office. Sienna's eyes widened. What's going on? Divorce papers. They said they're already drafted. I need to see them. Sienna didn't waste time on sympathy. His office is on the 90th floor. I'll create a distraction. 5 minutes later, a spectacular crash. Sienna accidentally knocked over a pyramid of champagne glasses. Crystal exploding everywhere. All eyes turned. Miranda slipped into the service corridor. The service elevator took her up 2 floors. The 90th floor was dark, silent. Damien's corner office at the end of the hall. The door was locked. Panic. Then she remembered Damien used the same code for everything. His father's birth year. She punched in the numbers. Click. The door opened. What she finds in the next 60 seconds destroys everything. Damien's office. Massive desk. Expensive art. The faint smell of his cologne. She went straight for the desk. Bottom drawer. Beneath blueprints of the Apex Initiative, a locked leather portfolio. She tried the same code. It opened. Inside, a folder from his attorney. First document. Draft divorce settlement. Brutal. Citing an NDA she'd signed years ago. Offering her a pittance. $2 million to disappear quietly. Second document. A prenuptial agreement. But not for her. For Damien Sterling and Vivienne Laurent. Dated 3 weeks ago. He'd been planning this for over a year. But then she saw something else. Something that didn't belong. A separate ledger. Handwritten. Wire transfers. Money being moved from Sterling Global's employee pension fund into a shell corporation in the Cayman Islands. Pinnacle Development Group. The same shell corporation funding the Apex initiative. $95 million. Stolen from his own employees' retirement accounts. He wasn't just replacing his wife. He was committing federal crimes to fund his new empire with his new queen. Her phone buzzed. Sienna. They're starting speeches. He's looking for you. Miranda's hands shook. She photographed every page, every transfer, every crime, uploaded them to a secure cloud account. And now she's about to use them. This is where it gets legendary. Miranda returned to the gala. The evidence on her phone felt like a weapon. She found Gregory Vance by the windows. Former board member. Legendary integrity. He'd resigned 5 years ago over ethical concerns with Damien. Gregory, I need your help. She showed him everything. The affair. The divorce papers. The stolen pension fund. Gregory's face went dark. He's stealing from his own employees to fund this vanity project. This is monstrous. I don't know how to stop him. You expose him. Publicly. In front of everyone. Gregory pulled out his phone. I'll contact the SEC during your speech. By the time you're done talking, it'll be too late for him to hide. He's going to call me on stage. Good. Let him build his own gallows. Watch what happens next. It's perfect. The lights dimmed. Spotlight on the stage. Damien stepped to the microphone. Friends, colleagues, visionaries, thank you for joining me. We're not just celebrating a building. We're celebrating the future. The Apex initiative is a promise of innovation, luxury, and vision. He spoke for 10 minutes, thanking investors, praising himself. But a vision requires the right partnerships. It requires releasing the old, the sentimental, and embracing a future that is bold and fearless. His eyes locked on Miranda. I'd like my wife, Miranda, to join me on stage. Polite applause. Sienna squeezed Miranda's arm. Burn it down. Miranda walked to the stage. Head high, every eye on her. Damien took her hand. Iron grip. False smile. My beautiful wife, Miranda. A talented artist. A lover of history. A reminder of where we've been. Translation, the past. He turned to the other side of the stage. And now, the future. The visionary behind the technology making the Apex possible. Please welcome Vivienne Laurent. Thunderous applause. Vivienne ascended in her crimson dress, moving like a predator. 3 of them on stage. Husband, wife, mistress. Damien raised his glass. A toast. To new beginnings. To the future. To the partnerships that define it. He clinked glasses with Vivienne. Turned to Miranda. Gestured for her to raise her glass. She didn't move. Annoyance flashed across his face. He leaned in. Whispered, play your part. One last time. Then he did it. This next part will make your jaw drop. With a charming laugh for the crowd, Damien began to applaud. And as he clapped, he hooked his shoe onto the hem of her vintage dress. Then stepped back. Hard. The sound, fabric tearing, echoed through the room. The dress ripped from hem to hip. 70-year-old silk surrendering. Collective gasp. The room went silent. Miranda stood there, dress in tatters, leg exposed. Vivienne's smile faltered, then turned smug. Ultimate humiliation. Damien looked at the torn dress, then at Miranda. He leaned in, whispered, see, that old thing was worthless. Time for something new. He expected tears, a shameful exit. He got something else. Miranda stood perfectly still, looking down at the ruined dress, the last piece of her grandmother. And then she smiled. Not a sad smile, a terrifying smile. The smile of someone with nothing left to lose. She reached over, took the microphone. Her hand didn't shake. Damien stepped toward her. Miranda, what are you doing? She ignored him, turned to the crowd. Her voice clear. steady, resonant. My husband is right. It is time for something new. And it's time to be honest about what we're celebrating tonight. Pause. This isn't just a launch party. It's also an engagement party. Confused murmurs. She turned, looked at Damien, then at Vivian. An engagement party for my husband, Damien Sterling, and his mistress, Vivian Loron. Keep watching. This gets better. The room exploded. Gasps, shouts, 100 conversations erupting. Vivian went pale. Her hand flew to her throat. Damien lunged for the microphone. That's enough. Security. She's hysterical. Miranda sidestepped him, held the mic firm. Hysterical? That's convenient. The word men used to silence women who speak truth. She turned to the crowd. We're all here to invest millions in this man's vision. But do you know what it's built on? Not genius. Theft. The word landed like a bomb. The Apex initiative isn't funded by legitimate capital. The seed money was stolen. From your secretaries, your janitors, your construction crews. Stolen from the Sterling Global Employee Pension Fund. Wave of shock. He created a shell company, Pinnacle Development Group, registered in the Caymans. Over 18 months, he illegally siphoned $95 million from his own employees' retirement accounts. He gambled their futures to build this monument to his ego. Damien shouted, "Lies! Desperate lies from a scorned woman." But an investor in front, Marcus Thorne, ruthless hedge fund manager, stood up. "Answer the question, Sterling. Did you use the pension funds?" Before Damien could respond, a voice cut through. "She's telling the truth." Gregory Vance stepped forward. White hair, legendary reputation. As a former board member, I was alerted to discrepancies. What Miranda uncovered is accurate. The evidence is irrefutable. I've already forwarded files to the SEC, the DOJ, and the DA's office. Death sentence. The room erupted. Investors scrambling, pulling out phones, shouting, "Fraud! I'm ruined." The party was over. One more thing. Don't miss this. Miranda looked at Vivian, who was trying to slip away. "And you, Vivian?" Vivian froze. "Your company's initial investment? That was the first installment of stolen money, laundered through your accounts. You knew where it came from. You're not just a mistress. You're a co-conspirator." Vivian flinched like she'd been struck. Miranda looked at the carnage. Damien surrounded by furious investors. Vivian alone in her red dress. Justice. She dropped the microphone. It hit the stage with a heavy thud. With her torn dress trailing behind her like a flag, she walked off stage. The crowd parted. They stared at her with shock. Awe, fear. She was no longer the pitiable wife. She was a force of nature. She walked through the ballroom, head high, back straight, through the glass doors, and through the windows she saw them. Red and blue lights, police, ascending the avenue, coming for Damien Sterling. The reckoning was complete. Here's what happened next. The implosion was spectacular. Headlines everywhere. Sterling CEO arrested for pension fraud. Mistress implicated in $95 million scheme. The Apex initiative half-built, entangled in litigation. A tombstone to his arrogance. Miranda fled to Barcelona. Small apartment, terracotta floors, balcony overlooking ancient rooftops. The first weeks were sleep and silence. Unlearning fear. Then she emerged. Mornings at local markets. Afternoons in museums. Rediscovering joy. She was no longer Damien Sterling's wife. She was Miranda, scholar, survivor, free. The trial came. Guilty on all counts. 22 years in federal prison. When the verdict came, Miranda felt no triumph. Just quiet finality. The book was closed. Months later, a letter arrived. Damien's handwriting. 14 pages. Never once apologizing. Blaming her. The board. The media. The final plea. "We were partners. You owe me this." Miranda read it. Laughed. He still didn't understand. She walked to the Sagrada Familia. Lit the letter on fire. Dropped it into a fountain. watched the embers vanish. The past was gone. And here's the ending that makes it all worth it. 3 years later, London, autumn, a gallery in Mayfair, Provenance. Miranda's gallery. She'd built it from the ground up, renowned for authenticating and restoring historical art. She stood before a small audience. Simple black dress, pearl earrings her father had given her, speaking about a 17th century painting her firm had rescued. A man watched from the back, an architect, in town for a conference. When her talk ended, he approached. "What you do is remarkable. You don't just restore paintings, you resurrect stories." Miranda smiled. Genuine, unguarded. Every piece of art has a soul. Sometimes it just gets buried. It needs to be carefully uncovered. As she spoke, she felt the truth. She too had been buried. Under lies, under fear. But she'd done the work. Chipped away the damage. Restored herself. The architect saw a woman who ran a gallery. Miranda knew the truth. Her life was her greatest restoration project. And it was finally a masterpiece. Miranda walked into that gala as a forgotten wife. She walked out as the woman who destroyed an empire. She proved that the most devastating betrayals can forge unbreakable strength. True power isn't wealth, it's courage. If the story moved you, smash that like button. Subscribe for more stories of justice and karma. What would you have done? Tell me in the comments. Thanks for watching.